Evening to you, wherever you may be. Early days here at the Max Schmeling Halle in Berlin. You can see on the left-hand side of your picture, Dion Juma, 23 years old. And my goodness, he looks in shape, doesn't he, Barry?
He looks in great shape, doesn't he? I know Dion quite well. He's trained really hard for this fight, and he's really excited.
Well, Bitterov from Lithuania, he's got a couple of one-round wins. Only fair to say he's been stopped 4 times as well here in his 8th pro fight here tonight. He's got 2 victories, and Juma, this is his pro debut. Really looks the part, doesn't he? Powerfully built.
And he can punch, John.
Yeah, I was going to say, he likes going for his big shots, doesn't he? Big left hand.
Yeah, especially he likes throwing that left hand over the top, which is a really good shot for him most of the time, but we'll see what other things he's been learning.
Well, he certainly looked very much ready for it as he made his way to the ring. Very hyped up, just caught with a little right hand there, just a reminder as he tried to tee off that big left hand. Mick Carney, who's coached him at Dale Youth, reckons he's as good as any he's ever trained at this stage of his career, and that's some recommendation.
Yeah, especially, you know, he's had James DeGale and also George Groves. Yeah, already caught with a good lead uppercut there. That back left hand really is a powerful shot, isn't it, for Juma?
Well, Bitterov's already feeling the power of Juma in this early stage. Sauerlands, right hand from Bitterov. Sauerlands, of course, have got Marco Huck, Juan Pablo Hernandez on their books, both world champions, WBO and IBF. And wouldn't Dion Juma hope that in years to come he might follow them? That's a tasty-looking left hook he threw there.
Just like to see Dion just roll his shoulders a little bit. He's a little bit static at the moment. He's throwing his punches well, just a little bit static in his movements, just a little bit of a roll of the shoulders, looking for the angles.
As Steve Bunce was telling you, Juma twice ABA Cruiserweight champion, 2011 and 2012. Lost in the final in 2010 as well to Simon Barkley. Only had 1 defeat as an amateur, and he's making a really nice, confident start here. Not got an awful lot in front of him, let's be right about it, but he's putting his foot into the water for the first time, and inevitably at this stage and in this first fight, there's got to be a few nerves.
Well, he's doing well, isn't he? He hasn't gone up rushing, has he? He's taking his time, you know. He's commanded the centre of the ring. He has a nice wide stance. That's where you can see all the power comes from. And it's a nice positive and controlled start.
Tall, athletic-looking fighter. Oh, that's a good left hand. And Bitterov looking a little bit ungainly as he fell back into the ropes from that left uppercut thrown by Juma. I wonder if this might be a star that we're going to be talking about a few years from now. If you're watching it here, the very first time he's set foot in a professional ring, and here the closing stages of the opening round. Good body shot, great body shot, tremendous left hand. The gum shield's gone out and Bitterov's in real trouble. The count's at 7. I don't think he's going to beat the count. He's not, and Juma has won by stoppage in the first round.
That's a great performance, isn't it, for your debut? It's just real controlled display from Juma, power punching from the first bell to the stoppage. Just picked his shots really well, didn't he? You know, I was a little bit critical of his upper body movement possibly, but he picked his shots well, and that left uppercut was a good shot for him, but that left hook is just under the chest there, isn't it? Just on the floating rib, I think.
Yeah, it caught him a couple of times before, hadn't he? There was that left hand which he hit him with earlier in the round, and I think that Bitterov was in a bit of trouble then. And Juma, of course, he's the guy in there. He knew it. He looks very happy with himself, doesn't he? And listening to the reaction in there.
Yeah, I think that's Dennis Maycock, who is his old kickboxing trainer, I believe, who's turned over with Dion, so he's obviously somebody he trusts, and they've worked on, obviously, that backhand, and it paid off for him. But nice display. Like I said, took his time, didn't rush his work, took a few little shots, but as soon as Bitterov got a little bit ambitious, Dion made him pay.
Not too many have actually seen that live in the big arena in Berlin. You've seen it, and now here's confirmation of a first professional victory for Dion Juma.
Woge against Frenchman Hakim Zoulikha. The IBF Intercontinental Light Heavyweight title is also on the line.
So, Robert Woge here. Never, well, that's not true. I was going to say never gone past 6 rounds. Only once been past 6 rounds here against Hakim Zoulikha, who's a tough man, bit of a handful. And this is going to be interesting to see just how well Woge can cope. You can see he's got the height advantage and that slightly upright sort of stance I was telling you about.
But straight away, John, hasn't he? He's come out to put Zoulikha straight on the back foot. Takes the centre of the ring. Just needs to keep pumping out that jab. He hasn't really thrown anything yet.
Right hand from Zoulikha, a little bit of a slappy look about it, but it came over the top of Voge's guard. Woge, a decent amateur. Many times a German international and won various national titles. Lost to Ireland's Kenny Egan back in 2006 in the European Championships. There's that right hand again, and Woge doesn't want to be leaving himself open to those.
Well, the problem Voge's having at the moment, he's just pouring with that jab, just giving Zoulikha the opportunity to throw that overhand right.
Zoulikha does like to press the action, and he's not a pretty fighter. He can look a little bit crude, but at his own level, he's been effective over the years. Been a pro now for 4 years, moving into his 5th year. 26, by 2 years the younger man, even though as a professional fighter, he is the more experienced.
Yeah, he looks the much smaller, but I think he's having a fair bit of success in the round, as you said. Voge's a little bit upright and stationary.
Well, he's covering up quite nicely, Zoulikha, and 3 or 4 times he's got him with those right-hand counters to the head. Woge this time finds his way through. There again. Only the one last loss in his last 16 fights, Zoulikha.
Again with that right hand there, Zoulikha just literally can't miss Woge with that right hand.
Woge coming in straight lines, isn't he, and walking straight into shots as he does so. That defeat against Krasniki, he wasn't doing badly, Zoulikha. Walked into a big shot in the 12th round and got stopped in that last round, but it was a good fight. He acquitted himself pretty well.
Both landed at the same time there with right hands. You can see the power does lie with Woge, but it's just a bit too easy to hit with that right hand. Needs to keep that left hand up, or when he's throwing that jab, needs to throw it with a bit more intent.
Well, it's an interesting opening round, and it's certainly not all gone Voge's way thus far. Sporting and respectful applause as ever from the German crowd. And here's Ule Wagner. Mic'd up as ever in the corner. And his was the voice you heard singing away during the German national anthem.
That was a decent first round to watch, I think. You know, I think we were expecting Woge just to take command like he did, the centre of the ring. He didn't have things all his own way, John, and for me, I gave that round level. I think Zoulikha, even though he was on the back foot, I think he had enough success with that overhand right.
Das ist ein ganz knappes Ding. Führungsantrag.
Ringfrei zur zweiten Runde. Round 2.
Woge very much a gym rat. He lives the life. Hails from Halle an der Saale in Germany. It's a 12 rounder, this one. We move now into the second. Close opener. It's a nice right hand, the opening scoring punch of this round from Woge. Well, he's so open to those. I'll tell you, Barry.
Well, he's getting too close, isn't he, John? That's his problem. He's throwing those nice long shots, but he's walking in then behind nothing. So he needs to just keep it at long range. Just again with that right hand. He's letting the shorter man close the gap, or actually he's closing the gap for Zoulikha to make that distance, make that move.
Well, he's being beaten to the punch repeatedly with that right hand. If it goes toe-to-toe, and if Zoulikha gets careless, as we've already said, you suspect that the power certainly lies with Woge, though.
Yeah, it definitely does, but so far this round he's having a little bit of trouble. Again, and it's all to do with having a good left jab, isn't it? He's not throwing that jab with any intent, no weight behind it.
Well, the crowd's enjoying this one, and it's starting to shape up. Well, in the second round, it's hard to imagine that they can maintain this sort of pace and landing these number of power shots for the full 12.
Yeah, it's a lively first 2 rounds, isn't it? That's a little bit of lateral movement there from Zoulikha, just making Woge miss.
Another big right hand from Zoulikha, and Woge's had to absorb too many. I think Ule Wegner will be a little bit concerned about what's happening. That's better.
But to Zoulikha's credit, he's keeping his hands up nice and high, isn't he, when Woge lets his hands go. Not really taking too many shots flush at the moment. Good uppercut there, though, from Woge.
Woge just trying to walk him down, trying to walk through his punches.
Yeah, that's his problem. He's getting too close.
Good shots. Power shot from Woge, and the crowd responding appropriately and accordingly. Chants go up. Woge, Woge. Popular guy.
Good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good-looking fight so far. Decent matchup. Woge coming on strong in the closing stages of this second round.
Gotta be honest, there wasn't enough for me. A cracking right hand there from Zoulikha again. And another one. That first one that we saw in the replay, I think it visibly shook Woge. And after me, I give Zoulikha that second round, John, and I think it's a closer fight than what we expected.
Interesting round that. Woge certainly came on strong in the closing stages.
Yeah, for me though, it was just too little too late. And I tell you something, he's only had 3 weeks notice, and if he's not ring fit, he's going to be in trouble tonight. It looks like it's going to be a hard night's work.
Light heavyweights, these fellas. Woge clearly the bigger man. The German in the black shorts on the left-hand side of your picture, undefeated against the Frenchman Hakim Zoulikha. And on Barry's card, Zoulikha doing enough to be edging the action so far.
Good left hook there from Woge. And the problem Woge has is he has no jab, does he? He doesn't have anything to base off to start his combinations off. He's just looking to get in close and unload.
Well, I said he's no stylist. He is a little bit crude, but he's strong, and he'll keep coming. I'm sure that the matchmakers will have done their homework. They'll have thought that his style will be meant for the more precise work and the power of Woge, who's very much a prospect who they've invested in, and the action hotting up again here in the third.
Yeah, they're both swinging away. It's like lottery stuff at the moment, isn't it? You know who's going to catch the guy first. Both landing with big right hands.
Good work rate from Zoulikha.
Woge just missing with that right uppercut.
Test will come when Woge lands really flush. Ooh. Will he have the power to put Zoulikha away? And he just got the impression that Zoulikha was stopped in his tracks a bit by that right hand.
It definitely was, but to his credit though, Johnny's fighting back, isn't he? He did take a flush right, did seem to stun him for a minute.
Good action, as so often we have from these fights, brought to you from Germany.
Oh, another good right hand there from Woge.
Now Zoulikha wanted to just cover up for a few seconds there, just to regain composure. Well, it's not sweet science stuff, but they're getting stuck in.
It's good stuff to watch, though, isn't it? Most definitely. And in another close round, that for me was a round for Woge. I think he started off more positive. Obviously, all the power lands with Woge, lies with Woge, I should say. And I think it told in that round.
Ja, perfekt. Oh, perfekt. Aha. Robert, warum haust du nicht so, wenn du so raus, warum haust du nicht lang rechten auf das Zacken nach? Und dann gleich wieder zumachen.
Zoulikha's landed some decent shots, but Woge, while they have landed fairly flush, not really been badly troubled by them.
No, he's taken them quite well. You tend to think they're whipping shots, aren't they, with Zoulikha? Doesn't seem lots of weight behind them, even though he is making the effort to put everything into those shots. Woge obviously has all the power, but he's too easy to hit with that overhand right here, right on cue. And that's because he just paused with his jab, and Zoulikha can just walk straight through it. But it's going to be it's fought at a very high pace already, isn't it, John? And I hope Woge is physically prepared for a tough battle ahead.
3 rounds gone, and on your card, Woge taking that round, just squares it up on the Barry Jones scorecard.
Good work from Zoulikha. Zoulikha just needs to stay nice and low, keep bobbing and weaving, keep a small target.
Zoulikha not a big puncher. He's actually on his record got a win against a Lithuanian, Tadas Jonkus, over 6 rounds. He was stopped by both George Groves and Chris Eubank Jr.
Yeah, I don't. Obviously, he's not a big puncher. I'm sure. I think it's his output to punches probably that stops people. But he fights at a high pace, doesn't he? And that can cause you problems.
If Woge doesn't shake him up, the further the fight goes. As Zoulikha's still there, keeps landing with shots like that, then it's going to tell us a lot about the potential championship credentials of Robert Woge.
Good uppercut there from Woge again.
Zoulikha's giving a very much better account of himself than Sergei Demchenko did in Voge's last outing, and indeed a big punching Hungarian, Ferenc Hafner, who he fought back in March, who he stopped in 3 rounds. Here we are in the 4th, and Zoulikha, as you can see, highly competitive.
Well, the output's great from Zoulikha, but obviously Voge's landed with the heavier shots, so it's, again, they're difficult rounds to score, aren't they? A decent fight to watch.
Yeah, and the old adage about how you've got to knock somebody out and nail them to the canvas to get a split points decision in Germany. It's kind of going out of the window a bit of late, isn't it?
Yeah,
most recently exemplified by the defeat last night of Felix Sturm.
Exactly, you know, and I thought Stone won that fight, genuinely won that fight, but he didn't get it. Oh, good right hand there from Zoulikha.
Oh, good right hand from Woge. Payback time. Well, they're still throwing punches like this in the closing stages in the championship rounds. This one could turn into an absolute war. Right hand from Zoulikha going low on the blind side of the referee, and they go toe-to-toe in the closing seconds. Oh, what a good round.
Cracking round.
Let's go.
There's Marco Hook in the audience.
He'd be enjoying this, wouldn't he?
Aye. Captain Hook, the man who never has a dull fight.
No, he doesn't. There's always some sort of controversy, isn't there, in his fights as well.
Yeah, they didn't like it, did he, when he got the verdict against the Turk Arslan in his last contest. There's talk of him getting in against Ola Afolabi again. He'd certainly pay good money to watch that one.
Yeah, or the Arslan fight again, wouldn't you, really? They were both really cracking fights.
Yeah, either or.
Yeah.
I suspect that Marco might fancy a rather easier night.
he deserves one, that's for sure. This is no easy night for Woge.
No, it's going to ask some questions. What are we now? We're in the 5th, aren't we?
Yes, we are, round 5.
Well, if you're going to be critical of Woge, he's certainly not using the jab, I don't think, as Uli Wagner would like. He's prepared to stand there and trade with Zoulikha, and I'm not convinced that's the best policy.
Well, the problem is he doesn't have a jab at all. I haven't really seen a decent jab from him tonight, and yeah, that's been his biggest problem. You know, he needs to break Zoulikha up with that jab. He's allowing Zoulikha to get close and then taking too many right hands and left hooks himself, even though he is landing with a lot of shots in this round. And he seems physically stronger, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got height advantage, reach advantage. He's kind of got the tools to be doing a job here.
They're made to work very, very hard.
Well, so far as Zoulikha's concerned, this is kind of a rerun of the sort of form he was producing against Robin Krasniqi in January last year. And at one stage, he looked very much as though he could be heading for a win in that contest.
He's not doing too bad in this one either, even though he was giving away most of that round. He just come back with a nice little combination himself. Woge proving an easier target to hit. And being made to work extremely hard. Just hope that 3 weeks' notice was enough for Woge to get into shape.
He doesn't slip too much, Woge, does he? If he was in against a real banger taking shots like this, you'd wonder about him.
Unless he has one of those iron chins, yeah, he'd be in trouble, wouldn't he?
That's possible.
The problem is that when you're so used to knocking people out, you forget about the fundamentals sometimes.
Well, it wouldn't be a great idea to be fighting like this against Hook or Afolabi, for instance.
Oh, and another cracking round. And this time I did give that to Woge.
We agree.
So I have it level. You have him one up, John.
I've got Woge ahead. You've got it level. And I've got Woge doing enough to be ahead in this contest.
Again, just showing how easy Woge is to hit. Just so stationary.
Got to move faster with the belt and stay on the floor.
Good shot.
It's been fought in a pretty clean sort of spirit, hasn't it? I mean, the referee's been a fairly anonymous figure in there.
I'll tell you what, John, and nobody has held, has he? Not once.
Not at all.
And I think that's a lot of credit goes to Zoulikha there, him being the smaller guy. You expect him to be holding, looking for a rest.
Let's go.
But to his credit, he really fancies it tonight.
Well, sometimes styles just don't gel, do they? But this is one where they are doing. 6th round then. Robert Woge, the undefeated German with the black and white shorts, against Hakim Zoulikha, if you're just joining us, the Frenchman. An IBF Intercontinental title at stake. Every time Woge gets through, of course, the crowd responding. Zoulikha getting not too much encouragement apart from his corner, but he's certainly had his moments.
Well, he has the right idea, doesn't he? Stay on Voge's chest. No, stay close so Woge can't get any leverage on his shots. And they keep bobbing and weaving in front of him. He's doing the right sort of things. Is Zoulikha. And you could easily say about Woge, you know, he needs to move his head, a few feints, some lateral movements. Oh, good right hand to Kevin.
He needs to stop walking into those.
But he's never going to do those things, is he? He's never ever going to be a lateral movement sort of fighter.
Well, it's only his 11th pro fight, and the number of shots he's taking in there, you wonder whether he's going to have a long career. But it's crowd-pleasing.
Woge puts so much into every punch that you wonder, will he tire on the straight if it goes that far?
We've already seen Marco Hook at ringside. Arthur Abraham here as well. One of the super middleweight champions. Some of the Klitschko management camp are sitting at ringside as well. Boxing in Germany very much on a roll. You always get asked those questions, don't you? I mean, you get a bit fed up of fielding them, don't you? People saying, what's boxing like? Are you happy about the way it's going? What about the future? Well, I guess if you're sitting in a small hall show in the United States, you'd say, yeah, it's not going terribly well, and they could do with a decent heavyweight, they could do with American stars, take Broner out of the equation, take Mayweather out of the equation, and you know, you don't have to scratch an awful long way down before you're into not particularly high levels. But over in Germany, it has been really buzzing now for a number of years.
Oh, they have some great shows, don't they? And fights like this are the reason why, aren't they? They've had some quality performers, and at the high level, they've had some really exciting fights. We've had some these last few weeks.
Well, another close round. How do you score that one, Barry?
Oh, how do you score that one, John? How do you score it? That's the problem. I think for me, Zoulikha I think he just, the majority of the round, he was the busier fighter. Again, Woge came on strong late. But again, it was just maybe not enough for me, but I'm saying that with not too much confidence.
Well, halfway stage, it's time to lay our cards on the table. You've got Zoulikha by a round, I've got Woge by a round. Are we heading for a split decision, I wonder? 6 rounds gone. At home, everybody watching, they'll be tallying their cards, and somebody somewhere will be saying, Barry Jones, he can't score a fight. John Rawling, what's he on about?
And he wouldn't be far wrong, John.
Good fight, though, I do know that. Well, my German's pretty much non-existent. I suspect, judging by the sign language, he's suggesting he might get a little bit more movement into his approaches and not go in those straight lines.
I don't think he's capable of doing anything but going straight lines, to be honest, John. Because he's always had success, hasn't he, behind the power shots. But now he's come up against a stubborn fighter who's willing to block and take some of those shots and land his own back.
He does get his gloves up well, Zoulikha, as well. He's not as easy to tag as he might at first sight appear.
But for me, for one thing for Woge, after this fight he needs to work on is that learning how to jab. He really needs to get a solid jab. Break the fighter up with it, keep his distance with it.
More light heavyweights coming up later on, of course. Our main event tonight, yet to come. Cracker as well. It's WBO final eliminator, European title as well. Eduard Gutknecht against Jürgen Bremer. And so far as the bookies are concerned, that main event, pretty much a pick-em fight. Could be on sometime, Well, between round about 9:45, if you're looking at your watch. That's coming up after this one.
Watch out, break. Come on, get out of there.
Randy Newman's been a top referee for a long time. He refereed Tyson, he won several of the Tyson fights, I think.
Yeah, he's been around forever, hasn't he? And a good referee. And you need someone his size to referee something like Tyson, wouldn't you?
Well, the crowd were very emphatically behind Woge earlier on in the contest, but have kind of been hushed a little by some of the work of Zoulikha, who's made this very competitive, and the fight is still very much in the balance, you suspect, although Woge trying to bully his man back now.
Yeah, I think this round has been a slower pace than the previous. You can't blame him, they worked so hard for the first half of this fight. I think the pace has slowed down. I think it's suited Woge slightly.
Voge's got wins on his records against British fighters in Sam Cousins and Carl Dilks as well. But it was always looking like a tough assignment here tonight. Zoulikha not landing too much clean in this round. This has been a better round for Woge for me. And he's finishing it very much on the front foot.
Yeah, definitely a round for Woge there. I think the pace slowed slightly. I think it suited him better. I think Zoulikha is better when he's a roll-on sort of fighter, needs to keep it a high pace. Though himself has to work so very hard, being the smaller fighter, the physically smaller fighter, just to keep pushing Woge back.
Hakim, je t'explique. Là, des fois, il faut le surprendre maintenant. Gauche-droite, explosif. La gauche rapide, la droite certaine.
Right hand again from Zoulikha. How many times has he got in there? And there's Mr. Newman saying, whoa, leave it there, boys. Let's carry it on in a minute.
Yeah, it was just after the bell, wasn't it? When Woge was swinging to get his own back. Just wonder whether Zoulikha is tiring a little bit now. Had to work so very hard.
Arthur Abraham. Wonder if he'll be coming across to watch Froch Kessler.
Oh, you would think so, wouldn't you?
I would think so. If he's not there, he'll be watching, you can guarantee.
Though I do think they've passed him by, to be honest, now, John, in my opinion. They've gone past, especially at super middleweight.
Well, George Groves is going to be having a look at Abraham, you know, and I tell you what, the style that Abraham fights with, and you watch Groves and the way in which he's progressing, you really do think that that'd be a good fight for George at some stage in the not too far distant future. Yeah,
you would. You know what? You would give him every chance, wouldn't you? The way, I don't think he'd be able to be so aggressive. But the way he can box and move, which George can.
Well, Andre Dirrell and well, Carl Froch as well, and to an extent Stieglitz. I mean, they've all sort of shown the blueprints, haven't they, as to how to win that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Whoa, Woge walked into a right hand there. He was stopped in his tracks.
That's about 7 right hands on a trot, as Zoulikha's hit Woge with.
Woge was looking to unload, looking to really dish out the punishment, and suddenly Zoulikha found a big one. Woge looks as though he's regained composure now, trying to stay the on-top fighter here in this 8th round. This is a tough fight, Barry.
It is, yeah, definitely. And Zoulikha being that roll-on type of fighter, when it's at a higher pace, it suits him. He literally, he can throw that right hand with his eyes closed, and he still hit Woge on the shin.
Woge hard, he takes a shot, but the way in which he's open, you know, you think that somebody with somebody with fast hands, you know, a Nathan Cleverly, you'd reckon would play with him, wouldn't he?
Oh, it looks definitely be an easy night's work, wouldn't it, for any of the top light heavyweights in the country or in the world. Cracking left hook to the body there from Zoulikha.
Woge's absorbed some solid shots in this round, and he's still trying to dish it out in the closing seconds.
You can't fault his appetite for the fight. No, he's in there. Took another left hook to the body there.
Oh, good right hand from Zoulikha. Well, the number of headshots which have landed from both men. Big left hand from Zoulikha in the closing seconds there. It's almost like one of those boxing games, isn't it? I mean, the number of shots which have been getting through.
Well, they're just swinging. You can't fault Woge's. You know, he's up for the fight, isn't he? He's making a great effort, but too easy to hit. No lateral movement, no solid jab, and all these things that he can't do. Otherwise, Zoulikha's getting close to him. Zoulikha's having success with that overhand right.
You give that last round to the Frenchman?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I think that was probably his most clearest round to date for me.
Well, here we are in Germany, and the home favourite is under pressure.
And mentally, no, John, for Woge, you know, he's having success still. He's still landing with big shots, but Zoulikha's walking through them at the moment, isn't he? And that's psychologically, for a big puncher, that has to be a worrying sign.
Left-hand side of Woge's face reddened, and no surprise, the number of shots which have come through from that flank from the Frenchman mean that as we move into the 9th round, the fight could still be very much in the balance. You've got Zoulikha now just edging it, Barry, and it's close on my card as well. And we're agreed that last round to the Frenchman.
And again with the right hand. He just dips his left shoulder, doesn't he, Zoulikha? I don't know whether that's just maybe disguises the shot and Woge can't see it coming.
Woge's trying to get a bit more mobility into his work now, trying to stick and move. They're getting very animated, very excited in the French corner. They think that the upset is very much on here. And Woge is into unknown territory. Never been the 12-round distance before. Zoulikha knows what it takes. And he's cut now, Woge. Right eye is cut. Punches have done it as well.
Yeah, most definitely. There's been no head clashes at all there. It's all been clean work.
And Woge is visibly tiring.
Oh, good shots there again from Zoulikha. He's just throwing combinations in 2s and 3s, isn't he? Then when he gets close to Woge, he's just bobbing and dipping, bobbing and weaving in front of him, just not being a stationary target to hit back.
Robert Woge took this fight at late notice. In a sense, you know, you admire the guy for stepping up to the plate, and in a sense, you could say saving the show, but he's now staring into the very real possibility of a surprise defeat.
Well, you would tend to think if Zoulikha can keep this work rate now, this tempo going, that he might just be able to pinch this decision tonight. Good fight back there from Woge. You know, he missed with a lot of those shots. He got through with a fair few himself.
We're going to have to go to work in the corner, trying to work on that cut. Woge not with a history of cutting, but he is very much there now. Kind of a bit of a protected fighter, 9 stoppage wins in his 10 victories. And here he's taking clearly a step up into, if not the big boys, certainly somebody who's a very live contender, and Woge's in trouble. in trouble in the closing stages of the round, and Zoulikha knows it, and Woge was groggy as he stumbled back towards the corner.
He most definitely was, even though they're showing there just Zoulikha hooking off the jab. I think that's where they suspect where the cut landed. That last exchange, I think it was an overhand right. Wobbled Woge, he looked a bit unsteady on his legs.
So als von der Außenbox. Also nur lang. Aber halt den Mund, Mann. Bist du das letzte Mal geboxt oder was?
Hands up.
Mann.
Well, however you're scoring this one, there's no doubt about it that the tide is flowing now against the home favourite, Robert Woge. Real questions now being asked as we move into the championship rounds. This is the 10th coming up, about just how good this guy is. This is the sort of moment where you stand up to be countered, or alternatively, it's going to be a bit of a rocky road back to where he was.
Well, his back's against the wall and taking the fight at 3 weeks' notice. If there's even a little bit of doubt of his fitness, he's going to be in trouble. Because for me, Zoulikha still looks reasonably fresh.
Well, I just got the impression round about the 6th, 7th round, Woge had a good round in the 7th, didn't he? And then we walked into that right hand in the 8th, and since then, Woge has been really struggling.
Well, the problem for Woge, except that he doesn't really have a good jab, or any sort of jab, and obviously he's easy to hit, he has no lateral movement, but I mean, he's landed with big shots, but they just haven't troubled Zoulikha, and I think that's where the problems lied for him.
Well,
so used to having things his own way. Sorry, guys.
The crowd now is hushed and muted, isn't it? And Woge is now starting to have to trade a little bit on instinct.
Well, Zoulikha's not afraid to unload, is he, when he gets close? You know, all the power lies with Woge, so it seems, but Zoulikha's not afraid just to let his hands go when he is close.
A look of a bit of desperation about some of the work of Woge now.
But he's run out of ideas, hasn't he? He's had some success with that right uppercut. But no, even that's not troubling Zoulikha. Zoulikha just throwing his punches, staying nice and low. Look, that's good work. Just slipping the punches of Woge, coming back with his own shots.
Right, don't punch, get out.
And for me, Zoulikha has just really shown the importance of a high, tight defence. And even though he's always been in front of Woge, he's never been a stationary target.
The crowd now trying to rouse and raise the game of Robert Woge. But still now Zoulikha is the man more often than not, the one on the front foot. Be interesting to do a rerun of this fight and just sort of tally up the number of times that Zoulikha has been able to hit Woge with that right hand over the top of the left-hand lead. So many.
Oh, it's been ridiculous amounts of shots, haven't it? Even I would have realised I was getting hit with that. Oh, again with the uppercut and the hook from Zoulikha. Good left hook there from Woge. Good response.
He needs plenty of them. He very much needs a big last couple of rounds. How are the judges going to be seeing this one? It's coming round to that sort of stage. Zoulikha was stopped in the last round against Robin Krasniqi. 2 rounds still to go.
And I gave that round to Zoulikha again. I think, you know, again, Woge came back at the end.
If he gets on the ring, get him up.
But for me, Zoulikha's work rate, his punch output has just been too much for, and his lateral movement as well, the bobbing and weaving has been too much for Woge.
Well, here's the German director picking out some of the action from that round. Started off with Woge on top, and there you see Zoulikha fighting his way back off the ropes.
But to be honest, he's having success in every round, Woge. He's landing some good shots. They're just not troubling Zoulikha.
I thought that was a close round.
Yeah. And there's been some of the earlier rounds were pretty close as well, but for me, I think I'd give Zoulikha the last 3 rounds, possibly. Yep, I have.
Well, you've got it Zoulikha by 3. I've got it closer. 2 rounds to go. Last 2 could still be decisive, maybe. Woge so used to bowling his opponents over. Psychologically, when there's a guy there still in front of you and you've hit him with your best shots and still he's coming, new ground, new territory for him.
And a perfect example, John, right on cue. He just caught Zoulikha with a really heavy overhand right. And what did Zoulikha do? Tuck up and move forward. Yeah, you're right. It's a massive psychological disadvantage when you're a big puncher and not being able to hurt somebody. Especially early in your career when you're used to bowling people over.
Woge's putting in a big effort here in the 11th and dominating the early stages of this round, but now Zoulikha coming back. He must have been sent out being told he's got to win these last couple of rounds, Robert Woge. And he's digging deep, fair play.
Yeah, to be fair, his fitness has been pretty good, hasn't he? He's had to fight at an uncomfortable high pace. It's not really suited to him, but he's gritted his teeth and got on with his work.
Zoulikha caught off balance by that right hand over the top, and Woge's, well, he's dominated the first couple of minutes now of this 11th round. Needed to. Shot, left hand. Well, he needed that one, and that's a get out of jail card. Tremendous left hand, and he's going to be counted out, I think, here. Referee's having a good look at it. Well, I'm surprised he's letting him go on. He doesn't know where he is. No, he can't go on. It's all over. It has ended. The fight is over. Hakim Zoulikha doesn't know where he is. Robert Woge has got out of a whole heap of trouble with a peach of a left hand, and he has maintained his undefeated record. Well, yes, he can bang, but some real questions asked, and Zoulikha, he's shaking his head disconsolately. He can't believe that he's let that fight slip away.
He took a knee.
Well, for me, Zoulikha was winning that round, winning that fight. I think his corner protesting. I don't know why, because he was all over the place.
Well, they're saying that he took a knee. He's telling Kai Sauerland there, the promoter, he took a knee. He should have been allowed to continue. Well, it certainly wasn't the way I saw it.
Oh, no, and his corner, that's terrible corner work there. No, if he was genuinely wasn't hurt, you'd be annoyed that he got stopped, but he was all over the place. And I was going to criticise the referee for letting it carry on for a second.
Yeah, referee got it right in my book. He's big enough and strong enough to take the criticism, and Zoulikha's corner didn't like it. And yeah, he might have been winning the fight. On your card, he was ahead. My card, it was a wee bit closer, but there's no doubting the punch that took him out.
225 TKO. 225 TKO.
There you go, TKO after 2 minutes 25 seconds.
Cracking left hook there, wasn't it, to be fair? And
oh, phenomenal.
He had come out in that round, and he actually boxed better in that round, didn't he, Woge? He slipped a couple of shots, believe it or not.
They dug in, didn't he? He just sent out to you. Must have been told, you know, you're losing this fight. You've got. Let's have another look at it. Still looking. There we are. That's the big one.
Really turned his body into that shot, didn't he?
It'd be good to see the rerun of him, of the count, actually, and just see where, because I thought he was absolutely all over the place. I thought the referee could have been justified as stopping it right there and then.
Look at him now, he's falling over, trying to get up.
Now let's have a look at this. That's where he stopped it, and that's where Robert Woge knows that. Look, you see now, they're arguing that there he took a knee, but, I mean,
Well, he did take a knee, but he was already...
The referee's
all over the
justified in
place.
stopping that, isn't he?
Just before, when he got up from the knockdown, when the referee said carry on, Zoulikha was looking the other direction, didn't know where he was.
Well, the undefeated record goes on. It's 11 out of 11 now. A lot of questions asked, though, about Robert Woge, and a lot of work to be done before he really does move up to championship level, if indeed he's capable of doing so. But for the moment, he's got the win he wanted. They're mightily hacked off and think that they had the fight won. But when you walk into a left hand of that sort of intensity, well, the senses unravel.
Well, Woge's power got him out of trouble tonight, because for me, I think he was slightly exposed.
So here's confirmation of the result. 2 minutes 25 seconds, and Robert Woge is now IBF Intercontinental Light Heavyweight Champion. And we just wait for our Master of Ceremonies. But for long stretches of that
Meine Damen und Herren,
fight,
hier
he was in a
kommt
lot
das
of trouble. Here we
offizielle
go.
Urteil. Ringrichter Randy Neumann aus Richwood, New Jersey, USA, stoppt den Kampf in Runde 11 nach 2 Minuten und 25 Sekunden. Und damit neuer IBF Intercontinental Champion im Halbschwergewicht aus Berlin, Deutschland, Robert Woge.
The French camp don't like it. Robert Woge's delighted. In the 11th round, he wins by stoppage. Hakim Zoulikha ruled in no condition to continue, and so the